Welcome to today's episode of Daddy's Girls Talk. This is episode 6. Rest in peace and power to Tina Turner. And we're going to talk about men. Oh, pause. I've got my amazing host today, Jacqueline Thorne, speaker and author at Lady J Thorne on Facebook, IG, and Twitter. You can reach out to her on email, ladyjthorne@gmail.com. And we have the incomparable Aida Sanchez, speaker, author, and coach at I am Aida Sanchez across Facebook, IG, and Twitter. You can reach her as well on email at info@IamAidaSanchez.com. Hey!
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Oh, I am good.
Good
I am
evening.
good, good, good. How are you, Jacqueline? How are you doing, Ada?
Great, great. How's everyone doing?
I'm
Doing
full.
good, doing good. Yes.
My plate
I
is
know
full.
you on the home stretch. Yes, you on the home stretch with classes. And so graduation is next week, yes?
Yes, next Friday.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
You're on the hurdle. You're
Woo,
gonna
woo.
get over the hump.
Ah,
That's right. Look, look, look. We are implementing oh God, Yolanda Adams' song. Don't wait till the battle is over. Shout now, because you know in the
mm,
end you're gonna win. You got it. So
That's
shout
right.
now.
The battle has already
you
been
might, you
won.
That's
might as well
right.
put some earplugs in because I'm going to be hollering.
Already been won.
Woo, these labor pains.
So
I feel
happy
it.
for you.
Mm, yes,
Yes, yes. So
definitely. It's
happy.
good,
So
good to be here,
excited.
though. I made sure I made time for this is important, And thank you for the feedback that we're getting. Don't be shy. Please comment. Again, we ask for you to put in some suggestions of topics. I'm loving the feedback, but we don't see them until after the fact, or you text me after, or I have a conversation after. I'm like, let us know you're there. Please chime in. We love your feedback, and we're so glad that you're being fulfilled by what we're blessed with. So we really are just sharing the deposits that we receive. So thank you again
Mm,
for all of your whoever's tuning in and on the replays. It really does mean a lot to get the feedback.
yes, because during the week we're talking with each other, and we're just excited to hear that it's being positively received. But yes, if you would comment during the show, that would be much appreciated.
Yeah,
We had a brother from Ghana last week, right? I mean,
We
come
sure
on,
did.
US.
Yes,
Chime in. Let us know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yes. And we want to honor Tina Turner for a life well lived. Um, and she left us with so much great music and such a story of strength and overcoming and triumph over all that she dealt with, and to still come out on top, right? Um, and she passed away in Switzerland because she had dual citizenship. I remember reading that at some point in time. But to imagine being empowered to grow up in the country sticks of Tennessee, I believe she was born and raised in an abusive environment, to come out of that and end up having dual citizenship where you can have your feet in both grounds of soil. But we were talking about before we went live how, if you haven't seen it, What's Love Got to Do with It? It's like autobiographical about what she dealt with her in her first marriage to Ike Turner, in an abusive relationship. It covered her abuse as a child and what she dealt with, and how that impacted her relationships, right? And and the importance of loving oneself and healing properly before we get into other relationships. So um, I don't know where y'all want to jump in. We had such a good time. We almost started
Late.
the
It was
conversation we were having behind the scenes.
yes. It's so important. We were chatting, but it's so important to heal, right? In all relationships and to be ready and just thinking about what love has to do with it. And it came to a point where, and it wasn't just her anymore, right? She had children. She had obligations to her family, her mother, her sister. Like You know,
Mhm.
we all have our versions of that in life, and it's so important to heal. Um, just again, what a journey, what a representation of, we talked about protecting your peace, that finding that inner peace, right? I believe she went to meditation, right? One of her sisters or her bandmates that left the group, introduced her to meditation, right? To get into that peace, right? We talk about the daddy download and getting to a quiet place or shutting out, all of the clutter and all of the mess. So I really applaud, again, for all the entertainment, but even the representation of her life. And I believe she had peace at the end, right? She finally had somebody
Yeah,
who adored and loved her, and she
yeah,
was living her life, her best life. So cheers to a wonderful, wonderful soul.
yes, yes, indeed. And we talked about healing. And so I asked the question, how do we know that we're truly healed from the trauma of past relationships without getting into another relationship? And that came from the cliche that you hear in the streets: the best way to get over one man is to get under another one. And you all had shared your opinions about that. So why don't you share that with the listening and viewing audience?
Let's let wisdom speak first. Ada. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. How I know that I'm healed from the previous relationship is that I can be alone because I know that being alone doesn't make me lonely. So I don't have to settle to feel like I need someone to be complete or happy when deep down inside it may not be the right one, just because I just need someone there. But because I feel that if I can be alone, I think that's the healing work that has taken place. And so it's important that we exercise that patience and don't rush it, because it's so important that you don't rush into the same type of situation. It's almost like cycles repeated. And it's so important that we just be still and wait for the right time so that we allow that special person to find you, because the Bible clearly states that he that finds a wife finds a good thing. We're not going to find him. He's supposed to find us. So let him find a whole woman. That we are whole in our inner man. We're complete. No one is perfect, but we're whole. So that we don't bring that baggage into that new relationship, because he doesn't deserve to take the backlash from the prior. So,
Mm,
yes.
Jacqueline.
Um, yeah, healing, definitely healing and knowing thyself, right? I think that there's another level as well. You have people or women who don't know how to be by themselves, right? Who are used to having company. You have men too. They're used to somebody being in that space, right? So anybody will do, right? But anybody won't
Mm,
do, right? Because there's consequences to just allowing just anybody to be in that space. Um, I'm thankful that I've never been desperate to have somebody in a space, right?
right.
um, I know somebody once said to me, like, boyfriend, somebody that you could have one tomorrow. But that don't mean he have a job. That don't mean that he has purpose. That don't mean if he has direction. It's just a warm body, right? And I'm just glad that I am not in that space. For people who struggle in this area, it's so important to know yourself, right? And know your worth. Like anybody just won't do. I
Mm-mm.
I I'm willing to wait, right? And I think it's about timing as well. Like I think that we some people are waiting for that perfect person, white horse, all of that gonna come and fix everything, right? And we talked about wholeness. If you're not whole, you're not gonna attract another whole person,
Right.
right? If you are
Right.
partially, mature spiritually, financially, you just again, you can meet your soulmate and not be ready and not be in the right, position to receive what you're seeking. So I think it's another a self, in the mirror, self identification, right? To know where you are, and are you even in a position to have a partner, right? Are you whole? Have you healed? That's some of the things, some of the thoughts that come to my mind when I think about a partner. Again, I am still in the healing phase, so I'm good.
Right.
Thank you. I'm good
Right.
right now.
If I can add to that, sometimes it's important to change our atmosphere, location. Sometimes they say, you got to change your zip code. Maybe it's just where you live that you're just not finding anyone in that area. So sometimes you can go to another state or travel in your travels. I mean, a lot of times people don't want to travel alone, but you can meet people when you travel alone or you traveling with your girlfriends or what have you. And so it's so important not to just sit home while you're single because you're not going to meet anyone in the house. So, the best thing to do is to get out and get in social circles. I read something about someone saying they love eating where the billionaires and millionaires eat because they hear different conversations in those spaces. It's not going to be the same conversation that you hear in a regular place where maybe in the wherever where there aren't millionaires and billionaires. So you're learning from those conversations and you may possibly attract one. You never know, right? But all that to say that we have to get out and get out of our comfort zones. And that may work.
And excuse me, I think part two of knowing that we're healed and ready to get out there. I look at it like even if we have allergies, for example, and we take an allergy medicine, if all we do is stay in the house and take the Sudafed, the Claritin D, the Mucinex, whatever it
Mm.
is, and we don't get back out there, we could feel like we're healed because we're feeling better, right? Our mind is clear and all of that. But it's not until we get back out there that we realize, oh, this is working, that's not working, right? Because healing
Mhm.
is a process. Um, it is a process, and we have to be as whole as we can be at a particular time to go out because I agree, broken people attract broken people, healed and whole people attract healed and whole people because we're not even going to be attracted to somebody um, that's not in our circle because we won't even allow ourselves to be in that space. So I don't mind. I like what you're saying, Ada, about eating where people are maybe in a different socioeconomic group than I am. And here's the thing. Here's how you can do it. So even if you're thinking, oh man, I don't even have the kind of money to be in that kind of space, but they serve hors d'oeuvres, they serve appetizers. So you may be able to go in that space and not get an entree at this time, but you might be at the budget point, the price point where you can go in and get an appetizer and you can sit at the bar or at a table and order an appetizer and just listen and take in, what you're hearing, take in the energy in those kind of spaces where people are thinking and making deals is just so different. And just to be in that space and get your little water, tell them to put it in a wine glass with some ice. Nobody has to know what you're drinking, and your little appetizer, or go for dessert and a cup of tea, but you're still in that space. Um, so yeah, I can definitely um, see that and being healed and whole and being able to get back out there and attract the right person. Okay, so here's the right person for you. So does Mr. Right for you have to be perfect?
No, not at all. There is no perfect, as we discussed, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like a building a perfect house or finding the perfect house, right? There's not going to be everything on your list that you get, and even if you do have the contractor or the landscaper or the architect, you're gonna forget something, right? And perfect for that time. But for the long
Mm,
term, you have to evolve. Like I'm not the same
yeah.
person I was last year or 5 years ago, or I will be in 5 years. So, you
Right.
know, perfect. That's done with a pencil, right? It's always changing what's perfect. Don't ink it in, use a pencil.
and that's spoken from an engineer. Okay. So
Hmm.
right. Okay. Okay. Ada.
That, like I mentioned earlier, it's a personal decision, but yeah, no one's perfect. And when you start dating and you start learning to know one another and you're asking questions, if something raises a red flag, and so that's obviously something that is a deal breaker for you, that would be the time to ease your way out and say, we could just be friends or whatever, but you're not going to take it to the extreme where you think that this is the person you're doing life with. So yeah, you just have to learn the person in the beginning and not think that, oh, I can change him. Oh, oh,
Mm,
he has potential. I think that this could work. I can change him. No, we can't change anyone, because if God hasn't changed them, we sure can't. And so from past experiences, you just think that people will change as, you go along in a relationship, and it doesn't work that way. It's either they're coming in with it, and if not, then at this point, it's a deal breaker.
There's a quote from author Pearl Cleage that I used to use all the time. Like, people don't change, they just become more of who they are.
Absolutely.
mhm,
Amplified.
Right. Again, change, right? You can evolve, right? But you're coming more into who you are, right? If
Mhm.
somebody is open and willing, we talked a little bit about, okay, he's or she is not where you would prefer to be. But there's no restrictions on leveling up, right? Or getting into a position where, we all love to travel, right? But we on an international level. Not I'm not talking about going down to Vegas or down to Florida and back, right? I'm talking
right.
about stamp my passport, please. Fill out all the pages. Right. And there's a difference between somebody who's not willing or does not want to or has not been in a position to travel or
Mhm.
want to travel. Right. You have to go through customs and, go through checkpoints and security. And somebody who's insecure or doesn't know how to acclimate or wants to learn about a better cuisine or a better level or, just access to certain places, maybe they're not as flexible as you thought that they might be. And then, like you said, it's not a good match. But if
Mhm.
there's potential, definitely don't turn away, right? We nobody started out being the whole person that they are, not saying, to be to look down on people who are not, in the same, realm you are. But there's a difference if the person's mind can't even think about being in those spaces. Why would I want to go there? We can't afford to have a whole meal. Why would I want to go have an appetizer?
Right.
You never
Right.
know. You
Right.
have to be in certain places and situations where, again, God will use whoever they want to. Somebody will talk to you and they might say, "Oh, well, I have you order what you want."
Just
Just
took the
something
thought
about
right out of
you,
my head.
right?
Absolutely.
You never know, right?
It
And
has happened.
it's actually
Hmm.
right, and
Hmm.
it's more about your personality, right? What you
Hmm.
bring, right? The energy, like you said, the energy that's in the room, right? If you have the right energy. I was in Walmart earlier today and I didn't know this woman from anywhere. And she was not dancing to the music in the store, but she had joy. She was just, I see you dancing. She was like, oh, I said, yes, I love it. It was just, she had joy about her, right?
Hmm.
And that's
Mhm.
just in the Walmart, you know?
Mhm.
Rich people shop at Walmart.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
about your energy and your attitude as well.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned the passport. So I met a gentleman once who we went out on a date, and like one of the first things he said was, "I don't have a passport." And I was like, "Okay, I didn't ask you about a passport, but thank you for telling me." And he said, "Well, I'm just putting it out there because I didn't realize it was such a big deal because he had been meeting women and they asked him if he had a passport, and when he said no, they were like, "Oh, okay," and they ghosted him or were just like, "Yeah, I'm not interested." And and part of me was, "Oh, that's really sad." But then the other part of me was like, "Now, how many women have told you if you didn't have a passport, they weren't interested, and yet and still you haven't gotten a passport?" So
Hmm.
that means, so they knew something that I hadn't thought about or considered. That means you're not trying to go anywhere. Like you were saying, Jacqueline, your mind is not there. The thought of even going someplace international is not even part of your repertoire, your dream, your bucket list, or anything like that. So it's like, well, yeah, you know what? I didn't even look at it that way.
Hmm.
And this person lived in a particular part of town that he was not leaving. So the thought of moving to another town or different community or whatever, he was not even entertaining that option. And so I was like, okay, Lord, my sisters knew, dude, if you ain't got no passport, you we're midlife. Okay, so we talking over 50.
Mm-hmm.
You've never been out the country. You've never seen a different culture, experienced a different culture in person. So yeah, at 50 something, 60 years old, me trying to say, come on, let's go to, Greece or Rome or whatever,
Right.
it's like a non-starter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very
So
important to know, right? And I think it would be a different conversation if he said, well, what is it? What do you like so much about going
correct.
nationally, right? I mean, a passport is like what, $120 or whatever. It's not about the
Right.
passport, right? It's like getting you get a license for everything else, right? It's about the
But then
experience.
but then I thought to myself, but do you have a record? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Are you a citizen? You get what I'm, so then my mind just started going all kind of other places. Maybe the reason why this person hasn't gotten this thing is because of some other things as well.
Mhm.
Oh Lord
I
Jesus.
think that's a great
Okay.
conversation starter, right? And depending on
Yes.
the response,
Yes.
well, are you interested or why haven't you? Right?
Right.
And it might be
Right.
nobody in my family ever got a passport. Why should I get one? Or
Right.
I'm good right here. I don't want to go to another country. I don't know what's going to happen. Just however the conversation
Yeah.
flows will be a great indication about, is this a match?
Yes. Yes. Will there be a second date or a third date or a fourth date or what have you? Okay, so we also talked about the father factor. And
Yes,
you talked about that, Jacqueline, in your book Purpose Not Perfect
correct.
and Journey to Greatness. So how about the father factor for us?
Well, we were talking about the fact that some people, again, want a space filled, right? But I have found, in my experience, and more often talking to women or single women, that it's a void trying to fulfill a void, right? In terms of what your earthly father instilled in you or
Or
gave you the
didn't?
confidence
Hmm.
for, right? And if that is not fulfilled, then we're always chasing after it. We talked about the list, right? The long list. He need to have this and he need to have that. And I want to, that's your wish list. Again, if you don't have that fulfillment, if you don't have that standard set, then you always chasing after the void that was there, that was not fulfilled, that lets you know that, you know, you don't need to chase after a man. Like Ada said, you are to be found, right? I am a wife. I'm not, it doesn't say a man that finds a fiance or a girlfriend. I'm not a fiance or a girlfriend. I am a wife. I'm already a wife. You find a wife in me. But
Hmm.
again, that takes healing, that takes knowing yourself, and that takes maturity and knowing how to stand 10 toes down, knowing how to hold a roof over your
Hmm.
head, knowing how to provide and protect. I already have all those things. So I'm not looking for that extra, but I'm looking for you to meet me there.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. So filling the void that maybe our earthly fathers didn't encourage us in, or even if we, some people don't, some women don't even know, don't even have a relationship or haven't had a relationship with their earthly dad, and you hear that men marry their moms, girls marry their dads, and so if that wasn't there or it wasn't a healthy example or a positive example, um, then our relationship with our Heavenly Father becomes all the more important, um, in who we look for. What do you think about that, Ada?
I agree that we need to have that vertical relationship, but I also said that we have to. That's the okay. I talked about forgiveness. We tend
Mm-hmm.
to have this unforgiveness of parents that may not, you a person may feel didn't do X, Y, and Z, or you feel rejected, not because, well, some people may have had traumas due to sexual abuse, but it's not always that. It could just be their absence. Maybe the single mom had to work extra hard because dad wasn't there. And so she barely was home to, to nurture you and constantly, tell you how much she loves you or whatever the case may be. So now you have this unforgiveness that you're holding against the parents that raised you. And so that is, it's a blockage because it's
Mm-hmm.
this unforgiveness and it's something that has to be resolved in order for you to be freed and be able to attract the right partner. The unforgiveness has to be resolved and you just have to let it go, say I forgive you and just let it go, because yeah, that's a stagnation. But the other thing is
Yeah.
that there was something else I mentioned and it just slipped my mind.
You
uh,
mentioned, you talked about how we holding somebody else accountable for what happened, um, to us. having that baggage and making them responsible for
Right,
what they
right.
didn't do. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to definitely just, let go of the past because it's definitely hindering where we are currently and our future and who we attract and how we show up. So it's
Mhm.
important to have that forgiveness and having our relationship with our Father that assures us that we have to forgive others. So we learn, in our Christian life that yes, we do have to forgive others because the parents were only able to give us what they knew to give us. Maybe they didn't get what they didn't give us, so that a person cannot give you what they don't have. So they did the best that they could. So with that being said, you just forgive them and say, they did the best that they could and move on. Don't hold them, forever just hold them responsible for what they didn't do. Just forgive them and move on. And you'll feel lighter. You'll just feel so much better once you just forgive them and move on and start to see how things start to open up. And, the relationships that you do have would be more healthier because it's just something. It's that blockage has been broken. It's like a barrier, a wall.
So, what do you think about forgiving ourselves for?
Yeah.
That's
I,
first and foremost. Yes, we have
I
to
think,
forgive ourselves because uh, we make mistakes. We do make mistakes, different stages of our lives, where we're lacking wisdom in certain areas. We don't know what we don't know, and things appear to be one way and you don't see it, right? The discernment is not activated just yet, and so we have to forgive ourselves and ask, because daddy already forgave us. When we asked him to forgive us, he forgave us. So we have to forgive ourselves and start off with a clean slate. And now that I have the wisdom and know better, that I can do better and get better results. So it's so important to forgive ourselves, forgive others, and even those past relationships that may have caused us some hurt, and just forgive them and pray for them and just live your life, because holding on to those bad toxic feelings and emotions only make you, stay stuck in a place where you don't want to be and keep attracting the same thing. So it's cycles constantly being repeated, and those cycles need to be broken. So forgiveness is definitely key all the way around.
I think that goes full circle back to the original question. How do you know when you're ready for a new relationship? Right? When you stop blaming the other person for their
Yes.
downfalls, right?
Right.
When you forgive, right?
Mhm.
When you identify what part you played
Exactly.
as well, right?
That's right.
Forgive yourself also, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
all, in what is it? Spiritual, having a human experience, a spiritual being having a human experience. So again, we're not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that says a lot about you being ready
Mm-hmm.
for a relationship when you stop going down your laundry list of she didn't do this and she said that and that, like forgiveness, right? Because if we had that same kind of tally against us, if God were to pull out the list of the times that we said that we were going to do something, or our intentions were to do something, or we fell short of something and we didn't acknowledge it, uh, where would we be without that grace? So
Yeah, we
forgiveness
have
is
to
key.
learn from the experiences and not keep repeating them,
Yes.
right? It's so important that we learn from every experience because each and one of those experiences do make us stronger and wiser and better,
Yes.
even though sometimes it may not feel like it, but yeah, in the end, it's for the better.
So we talked about menopause. So I said after I finished laughing, What does menopause mean to you?
Men on pause. We put men on pause
You said
during
men on
menopause.
You
pause.
said middle
Look, I said you said men on pause. I said men on pause.
menopause.
That was just a joke. Men on pause because of menopause. We were speaking about menopause.
And that
No, but
reminded me of that song back in it was it the 80s, the men all pause when I walk into the room. The
The men
climax.
all pause when I walk into the room. Yes.
you know, they're on pause while we're going through the healing process, right?
Oh, but they not on pause. I'm not on pause. Let me put that out in the atmosphere. Ada might be on pause.
No, I'm not
Jacqueline
on
might be
pause.
on pause. Okay, okay.
I'm walking in expectancy and expectation to attract my Boaz.
My face is hurting. Oh my god.
I'm
Boaz.
just saying. I'm
I'm
not
not gonna
not
say
broke
the one that I
ass.
don't want to
Not
attract.
not
No.
not all of those
Ser-
other asses. Yes.
I seriously men go through menopause also. So there's a
Yes, they
man
do, whether
pause.
they want to admit to it or not. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. It may
You
look
gotta
like
have a
Man,
sense of humor with this. You have to have a
you
sense of
do.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's like you gotta laugh to keep from crying, but I'm like, I don't want to
Yes.
miss out on nothing. I don't
Oh
want
no.
somebody walking
No,
No, no,
like
out
no, no,
and
no.
my
somewhere.
pastor
Yeah.
used to say, you better always walk around with your neck stretched out, walking in expectancy.
Right, exactly. And
Yes.
talk about being found. The only way you can be found is like you
Mhm.
said, you can't be sitting in the house.
Mhm.
You can't. You have to be out. You have to be enjoying your life, do the things you enjoy, going to places you want to go to, and all of that kind of stuff
Right.
to even be found. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Okay, so it's official. Lisa is not on pause.
oh no.
I know one
Mm-mm.
thing I'm on pause from.
What's that?
This finger here hitting the X button.
Right. Okay. Okay. So for context, y'all, I had Ada
Right.
get on Facebook dating, and I let her know that you gotta work through the busters in order to find the treasure, the diamonds in the rough. And so she's like, I'm so tired of swiping to the left is the X, right? Swiping to the left, X, 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 X. But I mean, I don't know. I look at it like it's almost like finding a job. It's a numbers game. You got to go through, whatever you have, however many you have to go through, but be in prayer about it before you get on any of these dating apps. But I am a fan of them because that's where we are. That's the season and time that we live in right now, and to meet people. But yes,
Yeah, and I think
that's
eventually,
it.
right? Eventually it has to come off the app, right? You have to meet in person.
Oh
You have
yeah.
to, right?
Oh,
Because there's some people who are
Jacqueline.
addicted to electronics, right? And having a virtual relationship. Like, no. Uh-uh.
When I tell you these people want to call you immediately, they want to see you immediately, and all of that. But still, it's and you do things safely. So that's the other thing. You if you do meet somebody, you let several people know. And as a matter of fact, if you have a girlfriend that can meet you at the spot before you get there and just be there in the crowd, in the restaurant, in the
Mhm.
coffee shop, wherever, have her there. Um, because you should never meet anybody by yourself and nobody know where you are. No, they can't come get you because you don't want them to know where you live just in case they cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. No, you don't meet in a secluded space. Again,
Mhm.
because I watched Snapped, I watched Fatal Attraction, I watched all that stuff. You don't do that. Meet in a crowded public space. Um, yeah, yeah, all that, all of that. And then if it's somebody you
Good.
think you want to continue to see, bring them around your girlfriends.
Mhm.
so they can do the interview and inspect them and get a feel and stuff because you might be like, oh, Google wide, and they be like, girl, you know, you know, and talk you in, talk some sense into you. So like Jacqueline said, we can keep 10 toes down, you know, firmly solid on the ground. So yeah,
Mhm.
funny. And then travel, because I'm sure Ada, you meet people in the airport. I see people in the airport all the time,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know. But anyway, nope. Uh, y'all can inbox me. You can message me. You can slide into my DMs, my Instagram, or whatever. I'm fielding applications.
All
Thank you.
right now.
That's
Have your jot form
Look,
ready.
they gonna come regardless anyway, right? Whether you taking them or not, they gonna come. So be prepared,
Oh.
right?
I'm just saying this midlife journey is something else. I can tell you that. I can definitely tell you that. It's very interesting.
I think
Very
we haven't
interesting.
talked about transparency, right? No matter where you are and what you're doing, whether it's dating on the apps, communicating, right? Um, give a person all the facts so they can make an informed decision, right? If you're hiding information or if you have to play an inspector to find this, like, say what it is, be who you
Can
are.
you not talking? Can you not talking cold, Jacqueline? What specifically are you talking about in terms of being transparent?
Well, again, we're talking about apps, right? And we're talking about,
Mhm.
possibly dating or meeting people, right?
Mhm.
We're middle age. I don't need to meet your representative anymore. I need for you to show up. I need you to state what it is. I don't have to have any guessing games, right? So if you're gonna, approach, just know that, again, discernment, one of my favorite famous lines, it always comes out in the wash. It always comes out in the wash. So all I'm saying is, if you are ready to meet someone, right? Say what it is, right? Like you said, the gentleman that said, I don't have a passport. Okay,
Mhm.
there's cause for more conversation, right? Don't hide things, right? Just, we don't have time. We busy, accomplished, purposeful women. Right? We don't have time to play investigator. Just state what it is. So again, there should be no, I have to go down this list to try to pull something out of you. If you're single, you're single. If you divorce, or if you separated, you still married. Right?
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about.
Right. And if you in a situationship, you in a situationship, right?
Exactly. Whatever it is, make it
When it's
plain,
correct.
so that the other person can make an informed decision about, I want to investigate more, or okay,
Right.
nice meeting you. That's what I mean. Don't waste
Correct.
time. Get to the bottom
Mhm.
line.
And don't decide for the person, right? Don't
Right.
decide
Don't
for them. And
don't
yeah.
put little doses. Like, we're a dose. We could take the real. What's the real deal? And if I want to rock with
Yeah.
that, fine. If we don't, no, no.
Say
That's what I mean.
ideals. Yes. Ooh, boy, this was interesting. Okay, so next Wednesday is the 31st. It's the last day of mental health month. Let us know what you want to talk about to close out the month. Um, yeah, let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to hear about. So thank y'all so much
Thank
for
Thank
you.
you.
us honoring Tina Turner. Rest
And
in peace and
rest in
power
power.
and
Yes.
menopause and healing and wholeness and attracting like attracts like. So we look forward to hearing what y'all want to talk about next week to close out mental health month and how we're hashtag more than enough. Thank y'all so much. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the same platform that you're looking at us on now. Blessings to you all.
Good evening.